It's now time to shift gears towards Khan's digital world. To begin with, this segment was founded by Dr. Badrul Khan, who's a genius. He is an author of many books on the latest digital technology. He's also a lecturer, a consultant, and a keynote speaker in many countries throughout the world. Here on Chitramala, in Khan's digital world, Dr. Khan keeps us up to date with the recent advances in the digital world. Let's see his take for this week.
Welcome to KDW. I am Badrul Khan, and I welcome my co-host Nicolette Devidar. How are you, Nicolette, today?
I'm good, thank you. Hello, Badrul, and hello to you at home as well, our viewers. What are we talking about today?
As you know, we are a bit into 2018, and the world keeps spinning. The World Economic Forum in Davos was heavily focused on robotics, security, and artificial intelligence. One topic that everyone's mind is big data.
Yes, in the digital world, data is the fingerprint of movement. The faster digitization is gaining speed, the more data gets collected of our every move. Businesses believe big data to be the new frontier to economic success. But is that really so?
Well, when you deal with anything digital, you leave a fingerprint. And companies are eager to see what are you doing, what groceries you buy, what Facebook post you like, and how you use GPS in your car, what words gets your attention, and how you react.
Entire businesses are built around the collection of data. Companies believe that metrics help them get into our brain and lead to economic success. The outcome is really data overflow, though. So the question we have to ask ourselves, I think, is does more data really lead to more knowledge and more insight?
Well, Gartner estimated last year that 60% of data projects fail. Many don't go beyond piloting and then are abandoned. And there were several noteworthy data flops. Google flew trends, Amazon, Target had issues with unwanted outcome. What is that big data often fails? Do you see the same thing in your professional work?
Yes, what we see is that there is a data interpretation gap, first of all. About a decade ago, we needed more data to understand what drives businesses and what makes people tick. With the introduction of ever more technologies and more data sources, data collection has really increased exponentially, meaning that we have far more data today than we need or are able to process in really meaningful ways. The second thing is there is a lack of understanding of what the underlying relationships of the data sets are. So just collecting data without knowing what the relationships of the actual data sets are is really a waste. There's also a lack of clarity of what challenge the data is supposed to solve. A successful big data project starts from a deep understanding of what challenge the data actually needs to solve and the value it translates into. But that's in many cases simply unknown. You need a team of people that brings data, IT, and business challenges together. So as straightforward as big data looks, it is a heavily integrated and collaborative process. And so far, it's very much data-driven. And of course, the last part is people are unpredictable. There is a side to us, namely flexibility. It's the ability to change, to pivot, to do things differently at the spur of the moment. So for example, when you have life changes, or you go through situations that demand an immediate adjustment, you have to be flexible. It's this flexibility that makes us human and therefore really not predictable. And if everything were predictable, think about this, the world would be an utterly boring place. There would be no awes, no surprises, no wonders. We would lose all the things which makes life beautiful, mysterious, and exciting. We have to change our focus and interests from time to time. That is simply the flow of life. Let me give you an example. When you're unemployed, for example, you look at job articles, job sources, you look for different things. So, but when you have a job, you change your interest. So what I'm getting with this is that with all the data, there is a short time period connected to their validity. And time, like water, it really flows fast. So Badrul, your next book, though, is about big data. From your experience, data and education, is that any different from what I've been seeing in my work?
Just as you noted, in education, there is a data overload as well. If the data is analyzed properly, it can be instrumental in improving the system. As it currently is, all data from learning management systems are stored. The way they are stored and provided is not very useful. Pedagogical data should first be identified, clustered, and then analyzed to be sent to academic affairs, because some of data relate to educational, others to IT, and again others to ethical issues. In my book, I'm proposing to use my octagonal e-learning framework so that we can identify these data and organize them into 8 different categories. You see, the first categories you have like a pedagogical, technological, interface design, evaluation, management, resource support, ethical consideration, and institutional data. Then you analyze them.
Why?
Because this allows education and training providers to consider critical issues generated from learners' feedback, which in turn helps them take the right action to improve the system.
That makes sense, but it also brings us to the second part of the data equation, namely that it's much more important to question the actual data we have versus simply collecting more.
Oh, sure, more data does not lead automatically to more knowledge, but changing how we view them and understand their relevance might.
Yes, and the best example is probably Nicolaus Copernicus. Copernicus concluded that the sun is at the center of the universe and not the earth. So he made this observation not because he had more data. In fact, he had the same access to data and observation than all of his peers at the time. But what he changed was how he looked at the data and how he understood their implied connections. The Data-Mania is a bit similar to the overflow of information on the internet, for example. Think about it. Everyone gets news, events, data from everywhere around the clock. But to know what's going on, what you can trust, how you can connect the dots, see trends, that you must discover really on your own. There is a reason why insights are called insights, because they occur inside. So not the volume of information does it, but how you connect the information and make sense of it.
Absolutely. To make meaningful use of data, we need to be clear about why we need them, what we do with them, and how they really can add to something. To do that, we need to change how we look at data versus just collecting more. Folks, that's all we have for today, and we'll see you with another episode of KDW. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks.